Okay, we'll go ahead and get started, everyone. It's a little after 11 here, California, so we'll jump right into it. My name's Vince, and I want to welcome you to this presentation, Novedge's Best of the Best webinar series. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today from wherever you're tuning in. We're excited not only to present Vectorworks Architect, but to have Jonathan Pickup on board presenting for us. I just want to give a brief little background on Jonathan before we get started. He's an architect trained in New Zealand and in the UK with over 30 years of experience. He's been writing and producing Vectorworks manuals and providing customer service support for more than 15 years. His company, ArchonCAD, is the premier provider of third-party manuals and training resources for Vectorworks, and he also runs a Vectorworks Online User Group and provides its main direction. So Jonathan's going to speak for the next 40 minutes or so. During that time, everyone will be in listen-only mode. If you have any questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to shoot them into the question box on your control panel. You can see there. Afterwards, we'll have a Q&A to wrap things up. So having said that, I want to turn it over to Jonathan so he can jump right into it. Jonathan, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Vince.
I'm going to switch it to you. I'm going to try to make sure I get the right one. Let me know if that's the correct screen.
No, it's the other one, please.
It's the other one, okay.
That's the one.
Yeah, we get it?
So everyone should be able to see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Thank you, Vince.
Not
It's
a problem.
always kind of humbling to hear an introduction. I kind of forget how long I've been doing stuff. But I might have to tell people not to tell me how many years I've been doing stuff. It makes me sound old.
Yeah, we'll have to exclude that next time.
Well, what I wanted to talk to you about, Vince, is this concept of building information modeling with Vectorworks Architect. And I thought I'd start off by showing you the final product. And this is a building project. It's actually the actual building project that we use in the Vectorworks Architect tutorial manual. So it's a domestic house project. It's 2 stories high. It's got some challenges with demolition work and so on. But what is BIM? BIM isn't just about building a 3D model. And it's not just about drawing walls. When you draw a wall with Vectorworks, Vectorworks actually knows where that wall has a window. It knows how big the window is. You can even tell Vectorworks information about the window, like the type of lintel that's on it, what color it is, who the manufacturer is. So there's a building component and there's an information component for building information modeling. Now, one of the nice things about building information modeling or building your Vectorworks models in this way is that when you make changes to the building model, your drawings can update very quickly. I've got just a few drawings here created. I have my proposed floor plan. So if I go back and change some windows and I change some wall locations, I remodel a bathroom or something, not only will it change here in this drawing, but will also change in other drawings, like in the elevations. They'll update. The sections will update. Even the reference perspectives will update if I make a change. Now, there's been some discussion, some people say, I don't want to put that effort into it. But I have been working on a project lately, kind of similar to this one, and we had to make a lot of changes to it. Had to change the roof height, we had to change the roof construction, had to change the window layouts. Now, having all the drawings linked together saved us an enormous amount of time. Not only the fact that we had all this reporting function here on the proposed floor plan. So all these reports here, this is a report of all my windows, a report of all my doors, area reports of the rooms I'm going to renovate, even a finishes schedule, so I know what finishes are going to be on each room, even what color if you want it. Now I'm going to cover this introduction to BIM in about 7 or 8 parts. So each part's going to look at just a single topic. I'd like to look at a new concept in Vectorworks called walls and stories. Now, stories was a new concept introduced in Vectorworks Architect, and it's a very powerful concept. So I'm not going to use the same project. I'm actually going to do a little project like this one, and I want to talk about kind of the final organization. Vectorworks Architect has this concept called stories, which you can access through the organization dialog box. So stories allow us to develop a large building, a multi-story building, and it allows us to link our layers, our design layers, to the stories of that building. When we adjust the story height of a building, for example, if we change this height here, then all the walls linked to the difference between the two stories will automatically update. Now I've got a very simple example to show that to you. I can use my wall tool. I'm just going to draw some simple walls. So there are my walls. Now the walls are actually linked to the difference between the two stories. If we look at one of these walls, we should find that that wall is linked to the finished floor of the story above. If I edit my stories, I can make that wall go up automatically. So let's go to our organization dialog box. Let's edit our story. Let's make that, say, 10 feet. And we'll move the story only. Now you should have noticed that the walls all moved. I'll just undo it so you can see. There it is. You can now see the change quite quickly. So the walls that are linked to the stories of the building automatically update when you update the stories. Now in the actual project I'm showing you, it's not relevant because it's an existing building and we're not going to change the stories of the building. But this is a powerful concept, and it's also very useful. It's recommended that you use stories, and it's also recommended that you look at your wall styles so that they do link to the layer and to the story above. So we're going to get started with drawing some walls. I've got a space here already which gives me the area that I want. I'm going to use some wall styles to draw that. Vectorworks Architect has this ability to have wall styles pre-saved, so you can have walls already for you, existing blockwork for example. You can also have a library of walls which makes it really quick to work on multiple projects. So I'm just going to draw around here. And I can click. If it's simple, you can do it that way. If the object is a space, you can use Vectorworks Architect to create spaces, create walls from spaces. So you can select a space and say, this is a space, put the walls around it for me, please. Now my walls are in 3D, and my walls are linked to the finished floor of the story above. You can see it just here. So that means that if I change my story heights, those walls will automatically update. Now I'd like to move on from drawing walls. The important thing about drawing walls is that you need to have your layer and story organization set up. You need to create your wall styles accurately and carefully to make sure that you can draw quickly and to make sure that those walls do link to the layers and to the stories. Now I could draw lots more walls, but they're actually reasonably straightforward. For those of you that don't know, I quite often use the offset tool to help me draw walls, because you can offset walls. So when you're doing an existing building, using the offset tool can actually make it very quick to set up your existing plan. Now I'd like to look at how we can use the walls to create the roof. So here we are, I've got all these walls created. I'm going to select the walls and I'm going to use those to create the roof. I quite often use this tool, the Select Similar tool, to select things that are the same. the same object, for example, or the same object and class. So using that will allow me to select all my existing walls, and it won't accidentally select walls that are of a different class, say proposed walls. Now I can create my roof. I can choose my eave profile. I can choose the thickness of my roof, the bearing inset. I can choose my roof pitch. The bearing height is actually the same as the height of the walls, and I can choose my eave overhang, say 18 inches or 450 millimeters. I can choose what layer I want to put it on. So I can put it on my roof layer, put on a class, and certainly I should retain the original objects. Now, because of the shape of the roof, or the shape of the plan, I've come out with a very unusual roof. The reshape tool is really useful in this situation. The reshape tool allows you to delete a vertex. So if you've got a roof that's troublesome, you can remove the vertices that you don't need. And now the roof's been reformed. I can edit the ends of the roof, turn it into a gable end, for example, change the eave overhang. I think it was 8 inches. And it's the same at this end. If I change to an isometric view, you can see I have gable end walls under here. That's this tick box here, which you can choose to have or not have. You don't need to keep your gable end walls because you can use Vectorworks Architect to fit the walls to the roof. And that'll then cause the walls to follow the underside of that roof. Now I've done all I want to do with that file, so I'm going to close it. And I'd like to talk about windows and doors. I've got a file here, it's the same house, same project. It's got a lot of the doors in already, but I would like to, I'll just remove a door so I can put one in. I'd like to talk to you about putting in the windows and doors. We need to go to our building shell toolset and find our window and door object. Let's start with the window object. And let's go to our settings. Now earlier on, I showed you that you could have a report with the sizes, the numbers, and the information about the windows and doors. Now if you do want to do that, if you do want to create a report with windows, it's much better to do it at the very beginning before you put any windows in. I've just gone to my settings button. And you'll notice that my Windows setting actually has a window number on it. Under ID tag, before you start the project, you should tell Vectorworks that you want to use this window on a schedule. You can put in the number, but that's not the important part. You can put that in later easily. And the ID class, we should really put that in as window numbers, door numbers. It's really important that you do the ID class and include on schedule and the bubble shape and size. It's really important that you do that early. Do that before you've placed any windows, because if you don't, you have to go around every window making this change. So it's a lot easier to do it now. So click on a wall and there's my window. Now you might notice that my window number didn't turn up, and the reason is I put all my window numbers on this class, and there they are now. You can see all my window numbers. If you've created a few windows and you want to create a few duplicate windows, there's a technique in Vectorworks called Create Similar Object. Now I've right-clicked on that window, and I'm now looking at the contextual menu, the pop-up menu, and it says Create Similar Object. Now when I select that, I should get a dialog box telling me that there's a shortcut for that. Now on a Windows machine it's the Control plus the Control plus the Alt key. On a Macintosh it's the Option plus the Command key. It's the two keys next to each other. So watch what happens. I'm just going to go back to my selection tool. I move near an object, I hold down the Control and the Alt key, and the cursor changes to an eyedropper with a star. When I click on that, Vectorworks will pick the appropriate tool. It will also pick up all the information about that object, its size, its configuration, and its window number, its the window number shape, the hexagon going around it. It picks up all that information. Now I can create another one which is an identical copy. Unfortunately, the window number is identical as well, so I do need to change that. Now this technique of the create slimmer object, it makes it really quick. So if I go near a door, it actually picks up the door information, or the door tool, and it's a copy of the door that I clicked on. This create slimmer object allows you to create doors, windows, walls, using exactly the same class, the same wall style, and so on. It is a really quick technique for speeding up working in a file. I'm just going to create another window. And there are my windows. Several windows have the same number, and I'm not worried about that. You can, if you want, change the window number on the Object Info palette. So I can give it another number. And I can also use a report to change the numbers and get all the numbers correct. So we're building a 3D model. Let's look at this in an isometric view. I've used my fit walls to roof, so you can see I've extended my walls up to meet the roof. Once I've created this information, I've got my building and I've got the plan view, I could then use this to create drawings. So I could create something called viewports and sheet layers to create my drawings. The first step is probably to create the existing drawings, like the demolition drawing, the existing plan, the roof plan, and so on. And you will need to create some sheet layers. I've got some I've created already. So for example, there's my demolition drawing, my cover sheet, and so on. I nearly always use a rectangle to create a crop object which will define the extent of my viewport. You don't have to use a rectangle, but you do have to use a screen plane object. Now if you're in a top plane view, it's not important, but if you go to an elevational view, it's really important that you change your crop object to screen plane. I can now create a viewport for that. So I'm view on the menu bar, create viewport. The viewport name has to be unique. That's this one here. That'll show up in the organization dialog box. The drawing title is like a label, and the label tool will actually pick up whatever you type in there and allow you to stick that as part of the annotations of the viewport. Let's put that on our demolition plan. We can choose our layers, our classes, and so on. Now if you do want to make if you want to make the change now, you can. So you can click on classes and you can make the changes that you want or make the choices that you want. But you don't have to. You can come back and do this later. So I might want to get rid of a few things like that. But you can always make changes to these later. And there's my demolition plan. what would be kind of nice is to put some notes in this about, what bits to remove and so on. So let's edit our annotations, and we'll put in a drawing label. So there it says existing and demolition plan. We can also use things like the callout tool to put notes in. Just make sure I've got my callout tool linked. And so now I should be able to put some notes in. This is an existing kitchen, so I need some demolition notes. It's an existing kitchen, so I want to remove cupboards and seal off all surfaces. And that's come up with note number 1. There will be somewhere with a block of notes that I can place on my drawing so that people know what the notes actually relate to. So I can put another note in. This is a laundry, or let's just call it a bathroom. It's a bathroom note somewhere, and I just have to find it. That'll do. Let's exit our Viewpoints annotation, and we should find a block of notes. Now it appears to me that I've accidentally put my notes on the wrong place. That's better. And notes 02. Now on here there should be a block of notes. There was earlier on, and I apologize, I've obviously messed up. And you'll see it later on when I open up one of the other files that actually I had the notes and I had them on the correct page. It's quite possible I put them on a class and turned them off accidentally. That was our existing drawing, and now we might want to draw our extension. So we're going to renovate the existing house and we're going to extend it, and we have some wall styles here that relate to our extension, proposed walls. So these are a wall style which has been set up exactly, and I can draw around that. These walls have a height. They know what construction they are. I've given them ahead of time the components, so there is cladding, insulation, there's internal drywall, and so on. And I might want to extend here as well. Line up with that outside wall, and double click to finish. So what happens to my drawings when I do that? Well, if we look at the cover sheet, and we have a look at the site plan, you'll notice that the site plan now shows those new walls. And this is the nice part about the BIM and linking the information together, because if you draw in one place, it automatically updates in other areas. So in this situation, what I need to do is I need to take a copy of the demolition plan, and I need to use that to make my proposed plan. Here's my completed demolition plan. This is what I was trying to achieve earlier on, and you'll notice that what I've got here is I've got notes, the call out, and here I have the actual note written out for me on the drawing. This is quite useful because it allows you to have lots of notes and lots of arrows, but one big block of text for someone to look at. Now I could take this project, this is my demolition plan, and I've already drawn, in this particular file, I've already drawn all of the extension. So I've put the stairs in, I've put the new kitchen in, I've got the new bathroom, I've got the extension, everything. So the trick is, how do you get that onto the proposed plan? Because there's nothing there at the moment. I could take my proposed plan from my demolition plan. I could copy this viewport. I could then paste it onto my proposed floor plan sheet layer. Let me just edit my annotations because I don't want those callouts. So in this situation, we may not want to see some things. So for example, we can come down here and we can say, let's look at our walls. We do not want to see demolished walls. Let's just preview that and see what it looks like. We do want to see our proposed walls. And there might be lots of other things that we want to also see, things like furniture, kitchen fixtures, and so on. I've got a lot of joinery classes here that I've used, so I can select all of those with a shift key. Let's preview that. And there's some fixtures as well. And OK. Now the challenge at the moment is that it's not going to fit on my page and my crop area is wrong. So let's deal with the crop area first. Right click, edit crop, and now I can stretch my crop area out to make sure it totally encloses my plan and the dimensions. So I'm going to give it a little bit of extra room. I'm going to rotate that. Now I know I need to make it -90, but I could equally use my rotate tool to do that for me. Now I've already dimensioned this plan, so if I turn on my classes, we should see all my dimensions turn up. I think I called them notes framing, and there they are. So gradually you can build up your drawing set. We're still using the same model, we're still using the same concept, and all the information that we're creating in plan here is actually being transferred to our perspectives. So I've now finished all my drawings. They're all here, nicely done. And what we really want to do is to set up some perspectives and use these perspectives to create reference perspectives for our project. On the visualization toolset, there's a really nice camera tool, the Renderworks camera tool. Unfortunately, you kind of need Renderworks for this. But if you're going to be rendering your building at all, you'll need that anyway. Now, if you don't have the Renderworks camera tool, there is another way you can do it by going to View and say Set 3D View. I prefer using the Renderworks camera because after you've placed the Renderworks camera, you can check the view. You can also fine-tune the camera view to get just the perspective you want. So for example, I might want to lift the height slightly. I might want to pan the camera a little bit to get it just in the right place. I can move the camera left or right, which kind of like flying around the building. So if I do that, you might notice I'm quite close to the edge here, so I might need to move my camera a little bit or pan the camera a little bit towards that way. And you can play with all these focal lengths and so on. So it's a great way of setting a perspective view. There's a couple of things you can do with this. In top plan view, you'll notice that you've actually got the camera itself as a 2D object presented there. The camera has several blue handles on it, grips. This one controls the location of the name. This one's the origin of your camera, so you can move it to different places. This one controls the angle of the camera, so wide angle, narrow angle, and so on. And if you messed it up completely, then you can go back to fine-tune the camera view. Once you've made the camera or placed the camera, you can then use the camera to create a perspective viewport. So select the camera, view, create viewport. Now, if you've not done this before, you will get a dialog box saying that, similar to when you create a viewport for the first time, the RenderWorks camera can be used as an object. Do you want to use the camera to create the viewport? You need to say yes. So this is a perspective view. And I think it's view 1. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste it here. I'm not sure if I've used that name before. It's possible. Let's hope not. We can choose our layers, we can choose our classes, and so on. But generally, if you've set this up correctly for the view before you've started, you won't have to change your layers and classes. We're going to change that to a hidden line rendering, and OK. Let's zoom out so we can see the whole page. And there's my new perspective on my drawing. Now, the camera has done a reasonable job, but maybe I want to crop this slightly tighter. So I can still go back into this. I can still edit the crop, and I can still draw a rectangle over the area that I want to be in my view. So even though it's a camera, I can still use crop objects in there to control what I'm looking at. Let's just get rid of that a little bit because I've chopped the top of my building off. So let's move that up. That's better. Now, once you've created one of these views, is it possible to duplicate it and then create another similar view? And the answer is yes. Because if you use a camera to create a viewport, you can go back and edit the camera. So I'm going to drag a copy, which is the dragging with the control key down on a Windows machine or the option key on a Macintosh. Once I've got my duplicate, I can right-click, edit my camera, and now I can fine-tune my camera view. So I've still got the same controls as when I first created the camera, so I can move my camera back this way, for example. Let's drop the camera down a wee bit to give us a lower height. Oh, it's a bit low. There we are. Let's return to our viewport. Just be careful, the crop object you put in may be in the wrong place now. Click OK first and then return to viewport. You notice my crop is actually cutting off part of my house. So that's something you'd need to fix, but still you can use the RenderWorks camera to create viewports, and you can go back and edit them. Just going to update my viewport so you can see what I've got. So there we are, we've got some viewports. They're actually internal room elevations of my bathroom. Now, this bathroom plan is taken directly from my main plan. It's a viewport with just that area. So if I rearrange my bathroom, all my internal elevations will update, and so will the plan. And the plan will update not just here, but also on the site plan, also on my demolition plan if I change the demolition, and on my proposed plan. So how can we create a room elevation? I've got a viewport selected, plain viewport, and I'm going to go to View and create section viewport. I want my section viewport to go across there, and I want to look at my windows. So it's going on my bathroom plans, and it's wall elevation 2. Okay, name's already used. Let's try that. Let's look at the whole view. Display objects beyond view plane, that looks fine. Let's pull that across there. And I thought I should have created a section viewport. That may have done it. So there's my elevation of my bathroom. So if I make changes to the layout, this viewport will change. I think I might not have time to do that. We're running out of time to finish off some of the other stuff that I wanted to do. So the concept is that because it's a BIM model, if I make a change to the bathroom plan anywhere, all these elevations can be quickly updated. If I relocate windows, for example, not only will they relocate here, but they'll also relocate on the plan and in the reports and so on. I've created some objects called spaces. Spaces in Vectorworks can do a couple of things. They can be the room labels, as they are in this situation. They can also contain information about the floor finish, the wall finish, and so on. And so you can use spaces to create a finisher schedule. A couple of ways to make spaces. You can use the space tool. Now this is the paint bucket mode. If you click on that space, it should actually flood it for you automatically. We can go to our settings and we can give that a number and choose the orientation and so on. We can assign room finishes to it. So for example, we might want that to be on our room finish schedule, and we can choose what kind of ceiling we want, what kind of wall, what kind of floor, and so on. And if you want to, you can click on the edit finishes and edit all these pop-ups, so you can get rid of all the finishes you don't want and just leave the finishes that you do want. Once you've created all those spaces and you've created all the finishes, you can then create reports on the finishes. You can create reports on the room numbers. You can create reports on the window numbers, doors, and so on. So you could create a whole lot of schedules. I'll just show you there's a couple of quick ways to do it. I've already created all of my schedules, all of my reports. They're called worksheets in Vectorworks. But one of the neat tricks is if you create them and save them in your library, you can access them through this reports and the Vectorworks Architect create schedule. This create schedule command will actually look into one of your folders in your user folder, and it'll pick up any reports that you've already created and present them to you. So in other words, you can create your own customized reports, put them in there, and they then become available on every project. Really powerful. I'm just going to return to the opening file. Didn't realize I had so many files open. I really want to get back to the file we started with, which was called opening. And here it is. So in this situation, I've created a report where I've got my window number. I've even got my window elevation in there. I've got notes about the removal, which windows are for removal, and I could have notes for which windows are for reuse. I've got my room area schedule, my room finish schedule, it's got all my numbers in it, and my room finish key. I think I have all my drawings completed. So there's my site plan, my demolition plan, my proposed plan, elevations, sections through the building, my roof plan, roof framing plan, and my internal room elevations. So Vince, I've covered as much as I wanted to do. I've tried not to go over time, and this will allow us a few minutes for questions and answers.
Yeah, you timed it well. We actually don't have any questions right now. I don't know if people want to start shooting them in as we speak. There we go. There's one from Corey. Which toolbox was the Create Roof in?
The Create Roof was in the AEC menu. And I'm using the Vectorworks Architect workspace.
Great. Here's one from Scott. How do you get a report of all those pages for a cover page?
Okay, let's go back. You mean like this one here?
Yeah, I think that's what he's talking about.
So this, Scott, this drawing list is a Vectorworks report, and it's a report that looks for a specific object. So this drawing list actually looks for all of my title blocks. That's a Vectorworks sheet border, and it picks up the drawing number, the drawing title, and I also told it to pick up the date printed. Now, you don't have to use the sheet border to do that. You can use any title block symbol, provided that you have a report attached to it. A report in Vectorworks is an ability to attach data to things, link text to record they call it. So we've got this concept in Vectorworks called record formats. That's these things here. And your record formats allow you to attach non-graphic information to objects. So the technology of record formats is what allows us to attach things to windows, doors, walls, title blocks, and so on.
Great. Here's a quick follow-up from Scott. Can we add a list of all the viewport titles?
You might be able to. I've never tried it, Scott. I don't see why not, but that doesn't mean that you can't do it. What you do need to do, though, is to find a way of I'd have to try it, Scott. As I said, I've never done it, and I don't know. You could do it, maybe. I just don't want to try it now and fail, that's all.
Yeah, understood. Here's one from Joseph. He said, can you use the camera tool to make a movie?
The answer, Joseph, is not exactly. You can use the camera tool to set up saved views. I don't suppose Joseph wants to give away his country, does he? Because the answer would be affected by the country that he lives in.
USA.
Okay. The camera tool on its own you can't use to create a movie, but you can use the camera tool to place key reference frames. You then have to save those reference frames as a saved view using this menu here. I read that one. And then you use those saved views to create your movie. Now, if you're in Australia or New Zealand, I think you get a plugin from the Australian distributor called AnimationWorks. Now, AnimationWorks you can also buy yourself if you want. It was Scott, wasn't it? Or Joseph, sorry. There's a plugin from Australia called AnimationWorks. Now, AnimationWorks does allow you to use cameras to create movies. And the way that it works is it creates a three-dimensional path, a NURBS curve for a three-dimensional path. You then attach a camera to it, and then you basically tell it to fly along the path. And you can have several cameras on the path, and you can transition from one camera to the other. And you can even make things open and close. It is super cool. I made a movie where you flew through an exhibit, and I made image props fly across the exhibit as you walked through it. so people would actually move as you walk through the view. Now that's not standard in Vectorworks. It's a plugin you've got to buy from Australia called AnimationWorks. But if that's what you're into, Joseph, it is pretty impressive. Oh, you can make lights turn on and off too.
Interesting. Here's another one. How can what's that? Go ahead.
There's actually a website. There's a movie I taught a client to make. Sorry, Vince.
Don't worry.
Vince, I was just going to say that there's a website for that AnimationWorks, and there's a movie on there that I taught one of my clients to make. And as you fly around the house, the roof of the house lifts off, all the internal walls disappear, the deck flies away, all the demolished work flies out to the sides, and then the new work flies in and all joins and falls from the sky. And so you can actually see the whole demolition and renovation of a project with AnimationWorks.
It's interesting. Here's another question. How can you change wall specs after creation?
What do they mean by wall specs?
I'm not sure. I don't know if Yorin wanted to follow up on that. While we wait, here's another one we can jump into from Andrew. Can you edit or modify a roof face?
Really easily. This project doesn't have any roof faces in it, but you can use add surface, clip surface, or you can double click on the roof face and then change the polygon.
Here's another one from James. What happens to walls when you have used the fit walls to roof and you change your story height?
Oh, that's magic. That is just so magical. The walls go up. Does he want to see that?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so AEC fit walls to roof. Now I've actually got, what you don't know, Vince, is I've actually got 3 slabs in the floor above. So I've got 3 slabs in this floor and 3 slabs in the floor above. So what we've got is we've got these walls are now fitted to 3 slabs in the upper story. Now what I'll do is I'll try and move the organization dialog box out of the way, and I'll make a change to the story. Just edit the story height. Now when I click OK, those walls should move. How's that, Vince?
Yeah, very nice.
I thought that was magic. Now,
yeah.
It's to do with the fit walls to roof and the way that these walls are connected to the story above. If you don't connect the walls to the story above, I'm sorry, nothing happens. But if you connect them to the stories above, then I just thought that was like magic when I saw it. It's so neat.
Yeah.
It works.
Okay, here's one from John. Is there a way to do a running cost analysis while you're designing the project? He assumes you would require a symbol library with the items already in it with their pricing.
He assumes correctly. And yes, there is. Don't forget that there's more than one way to do this. John, wasn't it?
Yeah.
John, there's actually a couple of ways to do it. One of the ways to do the running analysis is to do it by area. You know, like a quick budget at the beginning. You can do a very quick price by square foot costs. You know that a house costs so much per square foot if it's of this standard, or so much per square foot if it's that cost at the sort of the beginning. But if you wanted to detail, if you wanted to have every single item accurately counted, then you'd have to have symbols with costs attached. I would kind of caution on that, John. I mean, what sort of detail do you want to get into? You know, do you want to get into every screw, or do you want to do square meters of drywall, or Maybe if you're doing a kitchen, you know how much an IKEA cabinet costs, you could do it by cabinet, and that's quite possible to do. All you need to do is to have a report like this which looks for that information, and then you recalculate, and it'll give you the new cost each time.
Okay,
So you happy with that answer, Vin?
no, yeah, sorry, I just got sidetracked there. Here's the follow-up on the wall specs after creation question. He said, for instance, can you change a wall from solid to a sandwich construction?
Yes, I thought that's maybe what you meant. What you're actually talking about is editing the wall style. So after you've created a wall, you can go back to that wall and change its wall style. So you can go to the resource browser, you right-click on the wall that you want to edit, you click on Edit, and then you can make changes to it. So although it's called Proposed Blockwork, what I can do is I can change, and I could add, for example, a framing. And the framing might be 8 inches. And then I could add drywall. Drywall's what, half an inch, I think. Now when I click OK, any place that I've used this, it's going to update the wall style. So everywhere where I've used this particular wall style, it will update. Now this is a complete replacement of any wall that was currently there. Complete replacement. But if you just want to replace a particular wall, you select the wall and then use the object info palette to replace one wall style with another. So if it's blockwork now, you can turn it into timber framing or steel framing. Or if it's timber before, you can turn it into a sort of a, some sort of metal stud system. That's why it's important to make sure that when you draw in Vectorworks, you're using the technology that's there, using wall styles. I've got some clients that like using unstyled walls, but they always have a problem when we get to the proposed drawings, because an unstyled wall limits your ability to make those changes, and it becomes quite laborious to make those changes afterwards.
Okay, cool. We'll just get to a couple more questions here. Here's one from Luke. He said, when you have 2 or more floor level changes within a single story, so the floor slabs vary by a few steps in height, how do you set up the stories?
There's actually a long answer. I'm not sure if we've got time for that, Luke. This is one of the things I've done recently with my subscription group, my online user group. There's a whole lot of background that you need to know, Luke, in order to make it really, in order to work effectively. But a really short answer is keep the number of layers in your stories to an absolute minimum and try to keep things together.
Yeah, so I mean, Luke, I'll send a follow-up email to everyone who attended, and I'll give complete info on how to get more information on Jonathan's monthly subscription group, user group, if you're interested in that. I think we'll just get to one more question here from Chris. What's that?
Vince, just before we finish, like, I don't know if you can see my screen at the moment, Luke, but this has 3 slabs of different heights. They're all in the same layer. So that's the short answer.
Yeah. Okay. And so here, we'll just get to one more from Chris. How can I have exterior doors in plan view show sill and interior walls and not show its sill view?
For interior walls. That I'm not sure if I can do that. Because when you create a door,
He means interior doors. That's what he meant. Sorry.
yeah, well, but you want to show the sills on the exterior doors. So if you turn the sills off, you're going to turn them off on both, aren't you? I was just having a look to see if there was a sill option in the classes on the door to do that. Tricky. I don't think it's that easy. I don't show the sills here. See, I've got interior doors where they don't show the sill. Yeah, so that's a little tricky. I don't show the sills on the inside, on the internal doors. On the outside doors, I don't actually show the sill. What happens is the edge of the slab usually shows up, and it looks like it's a sill. So while that door looks like it's got a sill, it's actually not. It's actually a slab in here, giving me the edge of that sill. If you made the doors into a symbol, then that would be easy, because you could assign it to a class and have them turn on or off. Sorry, Vince, it's not a real great answer, I'm afraid.
No, don't worry. Don't worry, that helps. Anything helps. I think we're going to have to cut it off there just because of time's sake. I'm going to switch the screen back over to me, and we're going to wrap things up. So, okay, again, thank you, Jonathan. Tremendous presentation once again. And I want to thank everyone out there who attended this presentation, Novedge's Best of the Best webinar series. Before we sign off here, I just want to give a brief little background on us here at Novedge. We're the leading online design software superstore with the best prices around, and our staff is extremely awesome, incredibly knowledgeable. We'd love for you to call, chat with you at any time. We have Vectorworks Architect, what Jonathan was using, in case anyone was unsure. I put my colleague Bob's email at the bottom of the screen there. Feel free to contact him if you're curious about the pricing or any issues or questions about getting your own seat of Vectorworks Architect. Additionally, we have all of Jonathan Pickup's tutorials. Bob, again, handles all that Vectorworks related stuff, so feel free to email him if you have any questions about it. If you're curious as to which manual will work best for you, he's definitely the guy you want to ask. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on before we sign off is a little website called Vectorworking. We've created this website to essentially foster collaboration between design professionals using Vectorworks. It's a great resource. We have tons of free information, trends, videos, tutorials. A recording of this webinar will be made available there, so anyone who's not a member, definitely, if you're interested, shoot over there and sign up. It's free. If you had a question that wasn't answered, I would definitely recommend posting it on the forum there. We have a ton of knowledgeable Vectorworks users. Jonathan Pickup is actually one of them, and he's fairly active. He'll get back to you guys as soon as he can. And then the last thing, I wanted to turn it back over to Jonathan to talk about his monthly subscription service. Jonathan, are you there? I didn't know if you wanted to touch on that really quick before we sign off.
Just let me open up the website first before you share screens with me, so that I can show people what's in it and basically what we do at this online user group.
Yeah, definitely. Just let me know when you're ready. It's a really great resource. A lot of the stuff we use, or a lot of the stuff on Vectorworking, Jonathan posts from his subscription site, so it's great. The combination of the two will really, really help you out with your Vectorworks issues.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, tell me if that's the right screen I'm switching to.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
So thanks for watching. Thanks for still being here. What I do every month is I have a subscription service. You have to pay for it. But what we do is we have a monthly training manual. And I'm actually going to go into the subscription service so you can see it. So every month we get a different training manual. This month we looked at setting up layers, and in February we looked at, should update soon, we looked at 3D modeling, an introduction to 3D modeling. And lots of things are in here. This one here on setting up layers using stories actually answers the question that someone posted about, where do I put slabs? What layer do I put them in? I actually wrote quite a long manual, these manuals range between like 40 and 90 pages long. So there's a lot of information there. We have online sessions like the one that you're at today. We've got them for February. We're doing modeling. Next week we've got these new things called these special interest groups where we're going to take absolute detail, question and answer session, absolute detail. These things are like having online training. I write a private blog. The only way for you to get to it is to be a subscriber. I've created a whole lot of my own plugins which I give away to subscribers. We've got old movies, there's movie manuals and so on. So there's a lot of stuff here. There's probably 50 back issues of these manuals that cover a whole range of topics. Of course I have to charge you, and I don't think it's a lot of money. Works out to be just over $25 a month, I think, which I didn't think was too bad. So thanks for your time, Vince, and thank you everyone for giving me your time and coming. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I hope
no.
you all learned something.
Thank you, John.
That I showed.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. I think I speak for everyone when I say that. I mean, again, you give a tremendous presentation. Everyone really enjoyed it. So, thank you for participating in our webinar series.
Thanks, Vince.
And then, having said all that, I think we'll cut it off there. And again, yeah, I'll send a follow-up email to everyone that'll have all the information we covered in today's webinar, links to the recording, all the information you may need will be sent to you guys within the next 24 hours. It just takes a while for the webinar to render and the recording to be ready. So as soon as it's ready, you guys will be in the know. So having said that, we'll see you guys next time.